Hello, my name is Philip Freed, and this is my video launch of my new poetry book, Among the Gliesians. More about the title later. The book was published by Salmon Poetry Ireland, which is run by Jessie Lendenny and her associates, Siobhan Hudson. Siobhan is also a wonderful book designer. As you can see, I'm holding the book up as a wonderful front cover. Contributing to that is the photography of my wife, Lynn Seville, who made a magnificent photograph for this book. I'm going to read a few poems from the book as a teaser, and then I'm hoping you'll go to Salmon Poetry website, www.salmonpoetry.com, scroll down a little bit and find where you can order my book. This book is about many public and political issues. I'm going to start out with a poem about guns, and specifically the Kalashnikov, a favorite gun of terrorists. And the name of the poem is, the title of the poem is Voice. In poetry, we think of the voice of the poet, but this is the voice of the Kalashnikov. Voice. Voice is a pretty amazing thing, said the lead researcher for an experiment to implant connective tissue in lining cells from healthy vocal cords into the muzzle of a jammed Kalashnikov, reviving the keen patter of one whose speech had unexpectedly faltered. We don't give voice much thought until it goes wrong, he added. It's an exquisite system and hard to replicate. When the transplanted folds of tissue in the AK were triggered, they spoke with the same penetration as a normal forceful voice, and therefore could pierce the relevant objections of walls or of common vehicles' metal bodies equally well. And cogent arguments remained intact even after making contact with bone. Moreover, scientists believe the immune systems of any faltering weaponry will soon accept vocal cords taken from dead human donors. Best of all, high-speed digital imaging revealed the Kalashnikov had endured the scaffolds of tough elastic tissue without failing to cycle, and was uttering bursts of words on the tactics and techniques of debate. For example, I commenced my case with an attention grabber, or, to better rebut my opponent's contention, I remember to cluster subpoints closely together. The next poem is from a section called Among the Gliesians, which gives its title to the book. Gliesia is a planet 20 light years from the Earth, but they have a political system that's somewhat similar to our own. Surprisingly, I was able to get some ethnographic reports from this planet. I won't tell you how, that's a story for a different time. But I'm going to read one of them. It's called About a Planetary Pastime. My informant brought me to a stadium crater where fans gathered to follow rubble wrestling. Catty-cornered, facing off against each other, two rocks begin to utter mouthless curses, vehement as the planet's molten primordial core, while remaining somehow inert. The crowd is transfixed by the stunning bitterness of minerals. Here is a typical clip from the classic bout between F-Spar and Q-Arts, contenders from the continental crust, each an avatar for his mineral nation. The former splendid in his beige spandex, the latter flipping a crystal middle finger. Igneous bastard, I'll send you crying back to your magma. Not before I pound you silly, you high silica crybaby. You flux, you alkali, you sanitary ware filler. I'll decimate your diasterism. The goal of the sport is the utter obliteration of the other, and yet, although the mesmerized fans watch for hours, debate the merits and import of every taunt, depart from the arena at night but return the next day eager as ever, no one has seen the rocks collide and wrestle. And anyone will confide to you sotto voce that such an event would shake the fabric of space-time itself and is unimaginable. Later I shall have more to say about passivity ratios in the balance between risk and spectacle among the Gliesians. This next poem is about a subject that's come up many times during the last few years. It's the wall on the southern border of the United States. This is a riff on the wall. It's called The Wall Running the Changes. The wall begins as a whisper in the orator's ear, a wisp of concretion, a mere mnemonic standing for all who are toxic and alien, all who are banding together to break in and make us chant, "Build the wall." The wall is invisible but substantial, with bricks made of water, vapor, dust, feathers, and soot, whatever macro and microparticles float in the air. The wall is both there and not there. Each day is devoted to the walling out of those who incessantly want to come in. However, there's no getting around our intention to bar their entrance. The wall is our collective will. Walls differ in their national character. The manifest destiny of the American wall is horizontal but also vertical. From the molten core it rises to reach a star. The Platonic ideal of wall can never be equaled in this world, but let it inspire us to imagine running our fingers over its unending, heavenly, high-early strength solidity. The wall is a political quantum particle that is simultaneously pure metaphor and palpable concrete. The ingenious leader presents this as an essential uncertainty. It's debatable whether the rubble around the wall represents the remains of anti-wall anarchy, or of those who failed to make it through, or debris that embodies and forebodes the wall's future. Call it what you will, potpourri, concoction of concrete, slatted steel, concertina wire. The wall is the quintessential barrier for keeping the future out and the past in. And the last poem of the book is called The Battle of the Bulge. It's about my birth and purported memories that I have from that experience. The Battle of the Bulge was mopped up by the Allies in the early part of January 1945, and that's when I was born. The bulge obviously has a double meaning in this case. The Battle of the Bulge. Conceived as the world was ripped by cataclysm, I was at first a solipsist, immersed in the amniotic puddle, alerted or lulled by a heartbeat that was jittery or stable, submerged in her and believing we were I. A dog's barking and a lawnmower's drone, the music of sporadic conversation and the muffled roar of the crowds at a stadium were part of me and all I knew of war. Sounds without sources, heard through her rushing blood. A conscripted soul, I was being equipped with a regulation brain, the spinal cord, and millions of synapses for the liberation. I overheard a radio's Marseillaise reverberating through the bones of her body. Later I caught the authoritative tones of bulletins on the Battle of the Bulge. And though ignorant of military strategy, I mastered the tactics of flutter and kick. But afloat in her, I couldn't, like a soldier, crawl on my belly. While GIs froze in the forest called Ardennes, half-starved, having outrun their line of supply, I was tethered to mine. Crouching in foxholes or crossing snowy fields into fields of fire, I was snug in her underwater dark. A fetus, I was innocent of the risks of a siege enforced by a German panzer corps, and the peril of being deployed in a mother's body, or of being born. On December 23rd, the weather cleared, though in her it was still murky, and Allied planes retook the skies. I drifted on, unknowing what was above or below. Then Patton's armor broke their lines, and I would soon assault the breach in a difficult berth. New blood and guts to bawl at her in the light. Thank you for attending this virtual reading. And if you like what you heard, you might want to order the book at the Salmon website, www.salmonpoetry.com. Stay safe.